Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, a warm welcome. On behalf of the Smart City Taskforce, in this video, I wish to introduce you to the important topic of smart cities in Cambodia. A disclaimer, the word smart cities is somewhat misleading because we, as the Smart City Taskforce, do consider much more than just making Cambodian cities smart. We do and we should also consider how to create a smarter nation with smarter provinces, smarter municipalities, and also smarter senkats. And essentially, we need to consider how to create a smarter Cambodian society. So when we say the words smart city, it can and does encompass all of these scales. Although this particular video is focused on urban areas, so Cambodian towns and cities. And over the next few minutes, I would like to address the following questions. First, what is a smart city? Or what should a smart city be? And here I will share 3 takeaways using relevant smart city case studies and use cases. Then I would like to discuss how we can go about creating truly smart cities. And for this, I will share a framework which I have borrowed from the world of sustainability, which provides us with an approach for smart city decision-making, the Avoid, Shift, Improve framework, ASI, which some of you may already be familiar with. Then I will conclude with a few words on the Cambodian Smart City status. I am Conrad Richardson, a member of the Smart City Taskforce with a background in smart city planning, engineering, design, and governance. I am based in Cambodia, and I bring forward a wide variety of project development and capacity building experience from living and working in Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. Okay, first things first, what is a smart city? Think smart and your imagination may conjure up images like this. Urban environments blanketed with sensors and advanced technologies, or buzzwords may appear in your mind, which can often cause more overwhelm than anything. And this is also reflected in the many smart city definitions. The Wikipedia definition, for instance, is a smart city is a technologically modern urban area that uses many different types of electronic methods and sensors to collect specific data. It's all about technology, electronics, and sensors. And yes, these are important, but many international smart city projects and initiatives have shown us that creating smart cities around this definition does not always yield the best outcomes. Take Songdo in Incheon, South Korea, for instance. Songdo is a $40 billion development project built next to Incheon Airport. It was designed to serve as an international business district. And initially, it was hailed as the world's first smart city. It was developed using the strictest environmental standards with plenty of green space and, of course, sensors and cameras to monitor just about everything. It even has an automated vacuum waste collection system, so no need for waste collection vehicles. And despite having the very best of intentions, this high-tech utopia has struggled to attract businesses and residents. It was designed for 300,000, yet only 1/3 of the buildings are occupied. And they're mostly occupied by South Koreans that wanted to escape the busyness of Seoul, including many retirees, instead of the anticipated tech entrepreneurs. And the project has also been criticized for having been overly top-down, which goes to show that if you don't properly engage citizens, it's hard to address their needs and create desirable places. Now, only time will tell if Songdo was a worthwhile investment. But it does serve as a cautionary tale for smart city planners, and it's a similar story with Sidewalk Labs in Toronto, Canada. Another utopic smart city vision concocted in 2015 by a Google urban planning and infrastructure subsidiary. It was to be a city built from the internet up to become home to 100,000 people. With this project, Google set out to reimagine urban living, and they plan to track everything from people movement to public services to law enforcement. And they also developed a vision for a kind of social credit system that would reward good behavior. which to them sounded like a good idea, but led to public outcry and was seen by many as a breach of personal privacy. This project was summarized in a 437-page document known as the Yellow Book, where the words innovation, data, and digital were sprinkled throughout, but rarely does one come across the words social, culture, or even human. And by 2021, this project was cancelled before ever really starting. And there are many more examples like this. Eco-Atlantic City in Nigeria, Masdar in the UAE, and so on. Which leads us to the question, what should a smart city be? Well, it should obviously be a desirable place to live, which is much more in line with the UN Habitat definition and approach, which considers smart cities to be people-centered places. Places that foster health and well-being, which really makes sense, right? Cities are, after all, increasingly our homes, so making them livable is smart. Smart cities should also be sustainable and aligned to the SDGs, especially SDG 11. Because smart should imply sustainable. So ensuring the many systems and services that create the metabolism of a city are ecologically, economically, and socially sustainable should be of highest priority. Which should also lead us to question our current approach to development. Think back to the Khmer Empire, a civilization that sustained itself for over 600 years. A time when 1 in 4 humans on Earth lived in and around Angkor Wat. And this was only possible because they could provide enough food, water, shelter, and safety for multiple generations. Was this a smart civilization? Well, in many ways, yes. At least until it wasn't, which is probably what led to their downfall. So here I ask you, do you think modern-day Cambodia, which is only around 70 years old, given the current development practices, can we self-sustain for another 530 years? Well, probably not. So how can we develop truly smart cities and avoid the common pitfalls? Well, first of all, we should not overly rely on technology to continuously optimize our systems and services, because in many instances, the systems or services in question should not be optimized. At least that should not be our first priority. Take, for instance, a congested street, Sihanouk Boulevard during peak hour, for example. At the many intersections, we could upgrade our traffic lights, from fixed time to demand responsive traffic lights. Essentially, traffic lights that can detect vehicle volumes at each arm of the intersection and allocate more green time where there is a higher demand. With such a system, we could improve and optimize the flow of traffic along the boulevard, at least marginally. But in a context of rapid growth and increasing motorization, it won't be long before the road resaturates to its previous levels. So it's only really a temporary solution. And so we must not always or only seek to use technology to optimize. Sometimes we must revolutionize, shift to a different approach. So using a smart mobility example, take the city of Jakarta, a city that had and still has some of the worst traffic in the world. And they've spent years and billions of dollars installing hardware and software to optimize their traffic. But the real game changer has been the introduction and continuous expansion of the Trans-Jakarta Bus Rapid Transit Service, which today has a daily ridership of 1.1 million people. That is 10% of Jakarta's population using it daily. And just to illustrate my point, I took this photograph on my last visit, and on the left here you can see 39 cars. And if we assume an occupancy of 2 people per car, in reality it's generally less. So in this image, that would mean there are 38 passengers in the cars. Then over on the right is one Trans-Jakarta bus, in which there are over 85 passengers. And this bus here takes up 1/50th the space of the cars. And these buses, they run back to back to back. So this here is an example of how we can shift our approach from trying to move the greatest number of space-hungry vehicles and instead focus on moving the greatest number of people. which is far easier when they're all in one bus. Is this not a smarter approach? Well, absolutely. So here I share my first takeaway. Optimize, yes, but only after you revolutionize. Similarly, in the case of smart waste management, a topic of great interest in Cambodia, here too, we can optimize the management of waste by adding weight sensors to our bins, GPS sensors to our trucks, and automating the sorting of waste using a variety of sophisticated waste management applications, which, to be clear, I am all for. But should we not first consider how to minimize waste in the first place? Say, starting with a ban on single-use plastics, followed by a shift towards biodegradable, then recyclable materials. Or perhaps create a refund-based system that encourages you and me to return our plastic bottles. Will this not be far more effective than any amount of downstream waste management technology? So as discussed, sometimes we need to revolutionize, but sometimes we also need to devolutionize, move back to more simple solutions. And a funny example to illustrate this is, well, this. Is this smart? A plastic bottle of water with balanced pH and some extra minerals. Well, not really if you ask me. Is this not much smarter? Domestically sourced, biodegradable, 100% natural. And this, of course, could apply to many kinds of packaging. So here, my second takeaway is sometimes we need to devolutionize. Keep it simple and effective. And so, if we want to create truly smart cities, smart cities, this is really how we should approach our challenges, of which there are many, as we identified in our workshops. And we need to beware because technology suppliers from all around the world, they are ready and waiting to convince you to buy all kinds of solutions, regardless of their long-term suitability. So to guide your thinking, I highly recommend starting with the Avoid, Shift, Improve framework, ASI, a framework to structure policy measures towards more sustainable and efficient practices. This is really what I've used in my previous examples. But for instance, if we are to use the energy sector, you should avoid, say, the burning of fossil fuels, shift towards renewable energy, so energy production that is naturally regenerative and essentially inexhaustible, and improve your grid using smart meters and sensors. So my third takeaway here is focus on making smart decisions more than using smart technologies. And you can do this by leveraging the Avoid, Shift, Improve framework. Okay, with that, now let's briefly take a look at what's happening in Cambodia. Fortunately, in Cambodia, a lot of good work has already been happening. There are many publications in circulation, events and workshops are being organized, and regional and local networks are being formed. And if we're to look at the latest ASEAN Smart Cities Network Monitoring and Evaluation Report, we can see that 7 smart city projects have been documented across Battambang, Phnom Penh, and Siem Reap. 3 in transport, 1 in tourism, 1 in municipal services, and 2 in clean environment, which our colleagues here today from JICA can speak to at great lengths with the Smart City Roadmap in Siem Reap, or ADB with the Smart Management and Improved Drainage project in Battambang, or the various urban realm improvement projects in Phnom Penh. But these here are only the documented projects. I know for a fact there are many undocumented projects, and I know this because I've been working on some of them. I've been working on a proof of concept for a CCTV analytics system along National Road 1. I've developed a map-based inventory of all informal transport services in Phnom Penh and neighboring provinces. I'm also developing simulations to inform the upgrading of intersections. And there are many more sector-based projects that are considered or could be considered smart city projects being developed by you, the numerous development partners. And we need to better document these efforts, which is in part the objective of the Smart City Taskforce. So please make us aware of the good work you are doing. And while we're on it, it should also be mentioned that smart city solutions are also thriving in the private sector. We have many e-commerce solutions with the likes of Khmer24, on-demand food delivery services like Nyam24. We have great financial banking services with ABA, Wing, or even mobility services like GoTo, Tada, and Passa. So much is already happening in Cambodia, and this is only the beginning. With that, allow me to conclude with one final message, and that is less today is more tomorrow. And by that I mean that if there's any sentiment that Cambodia is lagging behind when it comes to creating smart cities, that is not necessarily a bad thing. Because in a context of continuous technological advancements and innovation, less can be more. The less technology you have installed today, the better, because you can avail of more advanced solutions at a better cost, highlighted by Moore's Law and Wright's Law. So while many mature cities are now stuck using legacy, often hardware-heavy systems from the early 2000s, Cambodia can immediately leverage the latest cutting-edge, say, cloud-based solutions, which generally requires much less hardware, and so is much more cost-effective to set up. But of course, as seen, it's not all about technology. And on this front, Cambodia is also uniquely positioned to study the approaches from all around the world and essentially cherry-pick what has worked and avoid what hasn't. I thank you for your attention, and I very much look forward to the many fruitful discussions to be had between development partners and government units.